Have you ever feared that one day you might forget the very people you love most? After 60, memory can fade, but trust me, the brain can light up again. Let me start with something very real, something many people over 60 never say out loud, yet I see it in their eyes, in their sighs, in the way they pause mid-sentence trying to pull back a name that just slipped away. It's the worry about their own mind, the fear that I think I'm forgetting more than I used to. I don't feel as sharp as I did in my 50s. Have you ever felt that way? Walking into the kitchen to get something, then forgetting what it was the moment you get there? Seeing an old neighbor whose face you recognize instantly, but the name just won't come? Some of my patients tell me they even forget the simplest things, things so familiar that it scares them. Why did I open the fridge? Where did I put my keys? Why do I have to work to remember things that used to come so naturally? I remember Mrs. Julie, 71, a patient I'll never forget. She sat across from me one day, her hands gently clasped, her voice trembling a little. She said, "Doctor, I'm terrified that someday I won't remember my children or grandchildren. I don't want to become a burden." I held her hand and told her softly, "Julie, forgetting a little does not mean you're losing your mind. It's just your brain telling you it's tired and it needs better care." And that is the truth. Many people think that after 60, the brain simply gets old, gets weak, or that memory loss is unavoidable. But science says otherwise. Memory doesn't fade because the brain is broken. It fades because of things happening quietly inside the body every single day. Reduced blood flow to the brain, tiny blood vessels becoming stiff and narrow, low-grade inflammation affecting the nervous system, lighter, more fragile sleep, chronic stress, and cortisol wearing down key memory areas, meals lacking B12, omega-3, D3, K2, and magnesium, all crucial for a sharp, energized brain. When you look at it this way, you realize something important. None of these are the end. They are gentle whispers from your body saying, "Please take care of me a little more." And here's the hopeful part. Your brain responds quickly. I've seen patients improve in just a few weeks simply by walking 10 minutes each morning, fixing their sleep, adding more berries to their meals, or taking the right supplements. Slowly, that mental fog begins to lift. Their eyes look brighter. Their reactions get quicker. Memories feel clearer, steadier, more reliable. So if you're worried or you feel like you're forgetting more than you before, I want you to know this. You are not alone, and you absolutely can improve this. In today's video, we'll talk about why memory changes after 60, which signs are normal and which ones need attention, the mistakes that make memory decline faster, and most importantly, 5 simple, powerful habits that can help your brain become clearer, faster, and stronger again. Just a few minutes together to take care of the brain, your most loyal, quiet companion through every chapter of your life. And now that we've looked honestly at that fear together, it's time for us to go a little deeper, gently, so you can understand what's really happening inside the brain after 60. Because once you understand the why, the fear begins to fade. You'll know what to do, and more importantly, you'll realize your memory has not abandoned you. I want you to picture the brain as a glowing city with billions of lights, each light a neural connection. When you were young, the roads leading to those lights were wide open, bright, and efficient. But after 60, a few of those roads narrow. Some get a little clogged, and the lights flicker, not because the bulbs are broken, but because the roads that bring power to them are slowing down. One of the biggest reasons is reduced blood flow to the brain. I'll never forget a patient, Raymond, 68, who joked with me, "Doctor, I think my brain still works fine. It just runs like slow Wi-Fi." And honestly, he was right. When less blood reaches the brain, there's less oxygen, and the brain processes information more slowly. You still remember things, just slower. Or you remember, but the ability to pull it out is delayed. That's why you walk into a room and suddenly can't remember why you went there. Then there's silent inflammation in the brain. You don't feel pain, you don't feel sick, but the inflammation disrupts your thinking, the way static disrupts a radio signal. This happens more in people who eat too much sugar, too few vegetables, or who carry stress for years. I once reviewed the brain scan of a 72-year-old patient. Tiny areas of mild inflammation, nothing dangerous, but enough to slow her reaction significantly. She told me, "I don't forget completely. It's more like everything pauses for a few seconds." And sleep. Sleep is absolutely critical. At night, during deep sleep, the brain does something extraordinary. It cleans itself. It clears out metabolic waste, tiny fragments of memories, and toxins that build up throughout the day. But when sleep is shallow, broken, or too short, this cleanup never finishes. Just one poor night of sleep can make you forget things you learned only hours earlier. Then comes chronic stress, which produces cortisol, a hormone I often call the memory eroder. Cortisol wears down the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory. One patient told me, "Every time I'm stressed, my mind feels thick and foggy." And biologically, that's exactly what happens. Finally, and this part is often overlooked, nutritional deficiencies. Many older adults assume they need less food, fewer nutrients, fewer supplements. But the brain is the opposite. It needs more support. It needs B12 to create new nerve cells, omega-3 to keep neural connections flexible, D3, K2, and magnesium to keep signals fast and accurate. Without these, the brain isn't failing, it's simply slowed down. And when you look at all of this, you realize something very comforting. None of this means your memory is gone forever. It's not disappearing, it's just hidden, like a mirror fogged with steam. Wipe it gently in the right places, and the clarity returns. And that is exactly what we're going to explore in the next part of this video. And now that you understand why your memory sometimes feels foggy, the next question naturally appears. So what can you do to bring that clarity back? Believe me, the answer isn't in complicated treatments or expensive pills. Your brain, whether you're 60, 70, or even 80, still responds incredibly well to small, consistent, right habits. Simple things that seem almost too easy, yet have the power to change the way your entire day feels. I remember Thomas, 74, a retired truck driver. He walked into my office and said, "Doctor, my head always feels like it's covered in fog, but I don't want to become a burden." When I taught him a few small habits, he laughed and said, "That's it? That's easy." But 3 weeks later, he called back and told me he felt like a machine that just got rebooted. And I want you to feel that same shift. The first habit, and the fastest way to spark change, is a simple 10-minute walk every morning. I'm not talking about intense exercise, just walking. gentle, steady steps. Research shows that even 10 minutes can increase blood flow to the brain by 20 to 30%. It's like flipping a switch and sending more power to the memory centers. Many of my patients say, after a week of walking, my mind feels sharper, and they're absolutely right. Next is a small habit with a big impact: a handful of walnuts or almonds each day. I often tell my patients, this is a little gift for your brain cells. Omega-3 keeps your neural connections flexible, and vitamin E acts like a shield against inflammation and damage. One of my 69-year-old patients told me her mind felt smoother after just a few weeks. But if I had to choose one superfood for memory, it would be berries. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, tiny fruits packed with compounds that reduce brain inflammation, speed up processing, and strengthen short-term memory. Think of them as clean fuel for your brain. And of course, we cannot forget the foundation of a clear mind: deep sleep. Many older adults don't sleep enough, sleep lightly, or depend too heavily on sleep medications. So I often recommend combining magnesium glycinate at night to calm the nervous system, with vitamin D3/K2 in the morning to balance hormones and support fast neural communication. Even these small adjustments have helped many of my patients wake up with a mind that feels lighter, clearer. And finally, there's one simple exercise I absolutely love. I call it memory activation, just 3 minutes a day. It's very easy. Say 5 random words out loud. Repeat them after 30 seconds. Then close your eyes and visualize them. This activates the short-term memory center and trains the brain to respond faster. Many people in their 70s and 80s who practice this for a few weeks notice significant improvement. And you see, none of this is hard. No magic, no heavy medications, just gentle, consistent habits. And the amazing part is, every patient I've worked with, even those in their 70s and 80s, becomes sharper, more confident, and often tells me my mind feels younger. Your brain is always waiting for a chance to shine again. All it needs is for you to begin. And now that we've talked about the habits that help your memory become clearer, I want to turn to the other side of the story. The quiet, hidden things that pull your memory down every single day without you even realizing it. Because sometimes the problem isn't that you lack good habits, it's that you unintentionally maintain bad ones that keep your brain from working the way it's meant to. And once you recognize them, you'll realize you have far more control than you ever believed. Let me start with a story about Helen, 73. She came to see me with a worried look and said, "Doctor, I've been forgetting so much lately. I'm afraid it might be Alzheimer's." But after asking her a few simple questions, I realized her issue wasn't a disease. It was in her daily routines, the same patterns millions of older adults fall into without noticing. The first problem was sitting too much. Older adults often spend long stretches sitting, watching TV, reading, resting. What they don't realize is that long periods of sitting cause blood to pool in the legs and abdomen, decreasing the amount of blood that reaches the brain. Less blood means less oxygen. Less oxygen means slower thinking, weaker memory. It's that simple. Helen used to sit 5 to 6 hours every afternoon. Just by standing up and walking a few minutes every hour, her memory noticeably improved in just 2 weeks. The next mistake is eating too much sugar and refined carbs. You don't have to drink soda or eat dessert for sugar to be a problem. White bread, Pasta, white rice, everyday foods quickly spike blood sugar. Repeated spikes damage brain cells, slow reaction time, and make your thoughts feel heavy and sluggish. I've seen patients dramatically clear the brain fog simply by cutting back on sugar and refined starches. Then there's dehydration, something most people never think about. But even mild dehydration can reduce memory performance by 15 to 20%. I always joke with my patients, your brain is like a sponge. It works best when it's fully soaked. Older adults often drink too little because they don't want to use the bathroom often. But in reality, low hydration slows the brain down significantly. Another extremely common mistake is relying on sleeping pills. Sleeping pills don't create real restorative sleep. They simply turn off the brain, rather than allowing it to move into the deep stages where healing happens. You sleep, but your brain doesn't recover. Research even shows that long-term use of sleeping medications can accelerate memory decline. I've seen this in many patients. But when they slowly reduced their sleeping medications and replaced them with healthy sleep habits, their memory improved remarkably. And finally, something very few people realize, not challenging the brain daily. The brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it weakens. You don't need calculus or crossword marathons, just small things. Learn one new word. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand. Try to remember 5 items you just saw. Change a small part of your routine. These tiny challenges keep your neural connections active, flexible, and alive. You see, most of the things that dim your memory are not outside your control. Your brain hasn't lost the ability to remember. It's simply waiting for you to wake it up each day. And when you do, even quietly, even in small ways, you give your mind the chance to become clear again, stronger again, just the way it's always wanted to be. And now that we've walked together through both the causes and the changes that can help your memory shine again, I want you to pause for a moment, take a slow breath, and look at everything from a softer angle. Because memory isn't just about neurons or lab results. It's also about how you treat yourself every single day. I remember Julie once told me, "Doctor, I feel like I've been losing the battle." I smiled and said, "No, you're not losing. Sometimes we just need to change the way we see things." And that's exactly what I want to offer you right now. Now that you understand what's happening and you know what you can do, try looking at your memory not as something that's slipping away, but as a lifelong companion that simply needs a little more attention. A companion who, with the right care, will respond with a clarity and sharpness you may have thought you'd lost forever. And now, after we've walked together through this long journey, from the very first worries to the real causes, the solutions, and the simple habits that can transform an entire life, I want to close with something truly important. Memory decline is not the end. It is not a sign that you're losing yourself. It is simply your brain's quiet way of saying, I need a little more care, a little more love. I've seen this pattern again and again throughout my years in medicine. Take Julie, 71. We mentioned her at the beginning of this video. She once feared the day she might not remember the names of her grandchildren. But just a few weeks after adopting simple habits, gentle morning walks, eating more berries, sleeping on a schedule, and practicing memory exercises, she laughed and told me, "Doctor, I can name every one of my grandkids without even thinking, just like when I was 50. Then there's Thomas, 78, who once told me his mind felt a beat behind. After adjusting his diet, fixing his sleep, and practicing the 3-minute memory activation exercise each day, he became confident enough to drive again. He said, "My reflexes feel sharp, I feel in control again." And I'll never forget the look in his eyes. Not pride, but relief. Relief in knowing he was still himself. The truth is, so many of my patients in their 70s, even 80s, tell me they feel clearer just by changing a few daily habits. There's nothing mysterious or magical about it. Their brains didn't lose the ability to remember. They simply became foggy for reasons that make perfect sense. Reduced blood flow to the brain, lack of essential nutrients, years of silent inflammation slowly building up. And once those things are gently corrected, through walking, eating more berries, using the right vitamins, sleeping well, and activating the mind daily, the brain begins to brighten again. Memory sharpens, words come easier, thoughts move faster, and most importantly, you feel like yourself again. I always tell my patients, you're not fighting aging, you're walking alongside your body. And when you choose to walk with kindness, not fear, not panic, your body responds in remarkable ways. So if today you start just one small habit, just one, in a few weeks you'll meet a new version of yourself, clearer, more confident, and filled with renewed hope. And if anything I shared in this video has helped you, eased your worry, helped you understand your memory better, or simply made you feel less alone, I'd be grateful if you clicked like, subscribed, or shared this video with someone who may need it. A small action from you might become the gift that helps someone else find their clarity again. Thank you for staying with me through the end. Wishing you health, peace, and a mind that stays bright and young no matter your age.